see. Well, hello to everybody. As you can see, I've adjusted the angle a bit more now that I've been looking down on that. Got a bit more space around me. I guess I could do a bit more of that. Yeah, oh, yeah. That'll do fine, won't it? Alrighty. Trying to keep it on time and shunt things back into sync again. Like I say, I was busy doing the other thing. And new people are encouraging me. Some are getting a little bit frustrated with the fact that they want the politics side of things to start up and probably wondering where the website has gone and things like that. Well, again, I'm still working out hosting. The politics, I've already signalled about to get underway with that, so very nearly there. As far as these go, I'll be looking at doing the space thing as well. I've been adding more information. I've been rifling through the information that I've had. So we're getting there. It's slow, but it's sure. Remember, I say it's just me that's doing it, so that's why I say you just have to be patient. Which it just goes to show, realistically speaking, that there is tension there that needs releasing. Now, fair enough, I said my bit. There's some spheres of understanding, or planes of understanding, that it's not always appropriate. But at the same token, sometimes you need, as I said back in the early days, it's a bit of a shock and awe campaign. So the idea was, or is to get people talking, even if it is throwing rhetoric at each other. It's better that than missiles. Yes. But then at the same token, yes, then we need mediation in the middle of it all, which is what's going on. Again, it's getting people to talk about these things. But it also shows at the same time that there wasn't never any intentions of really kind of like sitting down around a table and talking about it, was there? Yeah? At the end of the day, the young man has got something to prove. Yeah? He wants to build up his military arsenal, and the rest that goes with it. Yeah? So just goes to show, doesn't it? Really, it does. The EU is probably, along with the earthquake in Mexico, 8.1 through to 6.2 a few hours ago. So, wow, the devastation, the mind must be all over the place. It must be. So, my respects to you all. Still here or crossing over, just simply my respects to you all. For getting through all of that. I know back in the early 2000s, it's a weird feeling, because back in the early 2000s, we got a little bit of an aftershock from overseas, and based on the position of the tectonic plates and where we're sat in the United Kingdom, or rather where the United Kingdom is sat, well, you don't get earthquakes, and then even if it did, it's nothing most people will ever notice. So it has to be a major one that ripples right across the plate for us to feel the effect. So, and from that alone, you kind of feel the walls and that, and that's a weird feeling within itself. So I can only imagine what it's going to be like on the receiving end of an 8.1. Right, so never mind the condolences, respect, to you all, and I hope you find these survivors and start to rebuild. Okay, so natural disasters on one hand, North Korea on the other hand, or which way you decide to go on the map. Flat earthers, you have to go that way. The rest of us, show us route that way. I'm still gonna poke fun until people start accepting it's not flat. It's not. So you can either go that way or 7,500 miles that way. It's up to you. Right. So if it's not natural disaster on one hand, North Korea on the other hand, it's the EU. There are other conversations that I have noticed surrounding space, as I was saying before, and that is something that we as in the media external to me are those of the third parties who are interested in creating the stepping stones or otherwise platforms to the space era. Yeah, so moving beyond the digital era and all that type of stuff, moving into a space era. We have AI as well, so artificial intelligence, and then the EU side of stuff. The EU side of stuff, fair enough, it seemed like a reasonable enough speech. I did, and highlighting a few aspects. And yes, leaving the EU is always going to be, or is going to be like stepping into the darkness. But that is much the same as going to be with the space race. Yeah, it's much the same as that. Anybody who moves from employment to self-employment, you step into the unknown. But what you do with that will be what makes the difference. And how you're received within all of that also is another thing. So, which kind of goes to show about the tactics, and you pay attention to the tactics of others and what their behaviour and attitudes are and so on and so forth, what the appetite is, you know. So the case being is like you begin to see the fears of the European Union, you begin to see the fears of the Remainers, those who have become dependent upon the understanding that we have been led to become part of a political project which really nobody ever knew about until it was unearthed, until there was a seismic event, a seismic political event that shook things up a bit. Excuse the pun. But that's what it took, didn't it? It's showing people what's truly going on. So it's when you start hearing this thing about sheeple, which I don't like that term. It's part of people's awakening. This is waking up to how a country is formed, what is evolved within that country, and how that country is developed. You know, as I was doing within the other videos. I'm kind of looking at my laptop here and just generally browsing through also some of the stuff that I'm talking about, which kind of reminds me really is that when you start looking at the political landscape and the concerns about choosing who to go for and the whys and what fors, I did see here comments about the centre ground, but not the centre ground as in terms of utilitarianism. It seems to be that everybody wants to be the centre ground now. So you've got the Conservative, Labour and Liberals. For those who are not holistically versed or still confused over left and rights, in a manner of speaking, your left and rights can be simply placed, or parties can be categorised into either one, as in forms of like objectivity and subjectivity, yeah? Hard and soft, economics and society. Yeah. So when you start breaking up what one party represents, you begin to identify which one they are. Anyway, because you can only ever have two sides. Now, fair enough, you have your two sides, and then you have your outer edge components. Like, for instance, with the yin yang sign, you have your major components, two major components, and then two subcomponents. Yeah? Those could be the outer realm, so the extremes. Yeah? But they're only ever small; they're not overly consuming. In other understandings, it's quadrilateral. That is, what you've got is a left and a right, and you've got an upper and a lower, or north and south, or 1, 2, 3 and 4. However it is you wish to look at it. But by the time you've actually finished, all that noise echoing around, however, by the time you've finished, when you start looking at what the party stands for within their constitution, or their policies, or their general banter, rhetoric, and just loads of little bits of information of what the party is about, you begin to identify where they are positioned. Yeah? So, the centre ground, I'm not overly convinced, is something that left and right party alignments should be trying to convince people of. At the end of the day, if you're left, you're left. If you're right, you're right. If you want to be part of the centre ground, then I can quite happily, shall we say, allow utilitarianism to move into the background, and I go back to what I was originally talking about, and that is basically taking on a party and reshaping you all, so you actually become centre ground, if that's what you want. Personally, I don't think you do. Personally, what I think is you want to capture more audience. You want to increase your audience size, and then you'll move back to the way you were before. Being centric, being central, and central politics, having the ability to move one way and the next, is a commitment within itself. You have to commit to that in order to be true centralism, or centric, to be able to then move left and right. Right? Because you always have to return back to the middle. You can't just go, I'm going to move to the left. I'm going to stay here for a bit. Fine, no. Then I'm going to move over here and I'm going to stay over here for a bit. I'm staying here for a bit longer. Centre ground, what was that again, sorry? So the upshot of it all is it's moving from one side to the other and then back again. But that is the understanding. Always is back to centre ground. So in order for any party to actually be able to specify that the centre ground, they've got to be able to show that. Yeah? Centre ground is not the centre reservation area, so we got over all of that rhetoric years ago. The idea is there is such thing as centre ground. Yeah? It's where everything returns back to, and by the time you've finished. And you start to lean, you have to lean. It's the equivalent to being ambidextrous. Yeah? It's the equivalent to being neutral in terms of being a judge, perhaps, or an architect. So, kind of like the neutral posts that don't favour holistically one thing or the other. It's quantifying. Then they may lean one way one moment, and then you have to re-quantifying things again. It's kind of like, yeah, we'll go this way, but always is returning back to their original post. So it's things like that. As I've specified on Twitter, the political compass. We are the centre ground, and we'll point you in that direction. The idea is to highlight what's going on, right? And then you act and react accordingly. Now, when exploring the EU and their fears, some of them are founded. Of course they are. I've not attacked the EU. I've got no reason to. I made my threats in the past. Of course I did. That's because I could feel, or I could see the evidence of the pressure being applied. Now we've got this thing about the soft and hard. And I'm not talking about the soft and hard Brexit. I'm talking about the soft and hard as in the feminist approach or the masculine approach. Yeah. See, the misconception that a lot of people seem to fall under is that the feminist approach is not an offensive approach. It's more the defense. No. Even the feminist approach can be on the offense as well as being the defense. It's the same with masculine. See, that's the misconception of a lot of people when they start creating these ideas that doing this way would be better, is that they seem to forget. Like, for instance, I'm in this position now that whatever it is I say, I have to take into consideration that it can have an impact on both male and female, both young and old, both good and bad. Yeah? You can utilise the information for whatever purpose it's meant for, or even not meant for, to blowing things out of context. But this soft and hard approach, the EU now have taken a more of a softer approach towards things, and it's more about the kind of like, oh well, they're bullying us now. No. We said right from the beginning, so taking more of a stance from this side of things, there are a lot of things against the EU, against the European Union. Why? It's because of how you have done things. It's how you've gone about things. Like I've had to say to somebody recently, it's not the fact that I I don't dislike you, I don't hate you. Yeah? There's nothing to do with that. I just don't like what you're doing or how you do things. Yeah? So it's not a personal thing, it's more about what you're actually doing. Now, as I said in the past, it must have been around about 2012, 2013, thereabouts, that I said if we stay a part of the European Union, from my point of view, from a utilitarian point of view, the UK went under Section 69 of the Magna Carta. 61, sorry, of the Magna Carta. It went under a full review, legal review. Yes, I was heading the way, but it wasn't by me per se, all you guys. But that's what will happen with the EU. You will go under a review, and I don't mean in a bad way. I mean more of an objective way, as a health check, because that's the one thing that I do know you've not done, is you've not faced your own beast, your own demons, your own animal, your own creation, of what it's become, how far out of sync it's become. Somebody did mention that there's a bit of not so much as a cult, but it's more of a secular kind of groupings are beginning to form within inside. So it's like clustering, of groups that will eventually be the butt of conspiracies. And that's what I'm seeing at the moment, is that all of this and all this news that's coming forward and what I'm pushing out and it's coming back, and so we're doing this to and fro, and yes, you're revealing the truth, you're seeing the truth, you're feeling the truth, you're beginning to see the shift of the world around it, but at least you know what direction you're going to be heading in. To begin with, it may feel like it's like, fucking right, do this, but it's necessary. Yeah. The cooperation and, shall we say, the togetherness, the collective understanding and awareness of what's going on will help us move forward in a much more an appropriate kind of fashion, which, beyond the expenses thing from the original development program, people are now looking at the Lord's Chambers and there's a lot of things that I've begun to kind of like rethink about for these policies, and that is that the European Union really does need kind of like sorting out. But when you start looking at it all, you start looking at the direction of it all, the concerns of what needs to be done and how they're done. Like I was saying to you before, it's not so much as a problem with people, it's what you do. And I'm not talking about citizens, I'm talking about politicians, so we're differentiating between the two. Is that it's generally the understanding of, and these are going to be the two major factors that you face, along with escalating nuclear energy or nuclear power weapons, which I think by the time you're finished, if one person, I'll just quickly cover this one, if one person sets off a nuclear warhead, does it seriously mean that another person has to let off a nuclear warhead? Or would it be better just to let off a series of other warheads to negate the possibility of having a chain reaction of nuclear warheads? Nuclear war, because that's not what it's meant. At the end of the day, I think it was said in one film, having Iron Man, is it? If having a bigger stick than a stick means peace, or if peace means having a bigger stick, then so be it. That's generally what nuclear warheads has become about, isn't it? You know, my big stick type thing. You know. Figure it what you will. But the other two things is AI and space. Yeah? I say AI because of the technology that surrounds it, and space is basically, excusing the pun or the rhetorics or the use of metaphors and whatnot, analogies, it is the final frontier, is it not? It is where we're all hoping to go. And like I said right from the beginning, right? How we get there and how we work with each other will be determined by what we do now. Right? So we've got the thing about the past and the present, but we've got the present and the future. Yeah? So what we do then will be determined by what we do now. Forget about the past now, what we do now. Yeah? So are we going to be lazy layabouts? Yeah? How are we going to fund all of this? Yeah? How are we going to fund getting up there and all these big spaces and whatnot? Yeah, and I think that's where AI technology comes in. It's just being careful of how it is used. I mean, NASA's looking into space and finding new possibilities for boron. Of course it's a possibility, come on. But is it? Boron is necessary building block, not always is known about, as it adds strength and durability to various other applications. Yeah. So it's going to be quite a valuable resource. Yeah. There are other things that you can sensibly draw out of any conspiracy and come to understand exactly what each division, shall we call it, or each sector is actually thinking. How's that for conspiracy? Point is that intentions, again, let's not repeat. I'm not saying that the reasons why we're going to Mars is for that, so therefore it's uncovering intentions, they're up to something, and so on and so forth. No, not in the slightest. But that does kind of form part of the future thing. Do we continue to repeat what we have been doing and what we are doing, and covering up intentions, which then leads to other people about saying, well, you're hiding from us, you've got secrets, or you've got a hidden agenda and so on, and then it creates a destabilized environment in which to work with. So you're sending colonies up there to do one thing, and if one state's got an agenda, it's kind of like then that uncovers, and you start creating conflicts and segregation again, and segregation and segmentation. So the whole thing starts again. And you just wonder to yourself, you really can't help it, can you? Humans really cannot seem to help themselves in the context of being able to work together in an appropriate fashion, even within their divisions. Yeah. Which is the other side of it all. Is the AI, is the technology. Yes, it creates possibilities, but then it's the laziness and whatnot. Then it's thing that starts to force us to look at, shall I say, evolution of it all. Yeah. By the time we finish, conscious awareness, the state of mind and awareness of the environment and what the possibilities are, and lacking of possibilities, future direction, past, present, and so on and so forth. After all, robots would form part of a lower carbon emission, carbon environment. Yeah. They'll have a longer lifespan and become more productive, so at the end of the day everything within them can be recycled and so on and so forth. So why not have us become extinct and allow robots to take over? They have the capacity, though they'll be able to have the same capabilities as us. No. Yeah. Happened with the dinosaurs. See, by the time you've finished, conspiracy or not, wild imagination or not, when you start drawing out the little facts from all different little situations, it doesn't matter whether it's AI, space, whether it's war, or war within countries. You know, like for instance, the 3.4 magnitude earthquake in North Korea. They may not have set off a warhead there. One of two things could be said about that. Is that it could be a result of two factors. Is the fact that because there was an 8.1, 7.1 and 6.2 magnitude earthquake 7,000 miles away, that's enough to send sonic vibrations through the mantle and find the weakness within North Korean's peninsula as to where they've been setting off their warheads, creating a 3.4 magnitude. As wild as it may seem, it's plausible given on how these things work. It's like two crystals, isn't it? You strike a crystal hard enough without breaking it, it will give out a vibration, and if you strike it hard enough, you may not actually hear the after effect of the initial vibration, but the crystal on the other side of the room starts ringing, because it's the same resonance, yeah, or same density and whatnot as the one that you just struck. Yeah. Things like that. So it's knowing these little things. Now, I've not gone into great depth. The timing here is nearly 30 minutes, so we're going to wrap it up. We're getting there. The innovation is nearly done now. One or two more bits. I will start on the political side of things. You'll see that. In the meantime, I'll also be having a look at hosting too. No. It's one of those things where I can only move at the rate of the slowest component. So if finance is an issue, then everything runs at a slow pace. I'm sorry, but that's the way things are. No. You'll just have to be patient, like I do. Yes. Otherwise, nothing ventured, nothing gained, and the case being is that you've always got something else to begin on with. Yeah. So, in and amongst all the rhetoric, it might be as wise that people did calm down a bit now. And as a suggestion to North Korea, get off your high horse, don't become or make the same mistakes as others have. And I've tried to poke you in the side, in amongst poking fun, I've tried to poke you in the side to get your attention, to to talk with people. I know you want to put your country on the map. I already know all of that. Yeah? I've got nothing to gain from you actually doing any of this, so get on the bandwagon and start talking properly. Yeah? Trust me, picking a fight with America, with the US, or anybody else to that matter is not sensible business or sensible politics. And it's not. Yeah? Talk with them. It's not showing weakness, as a matter of fact. You're showing yourself to be much more than what you are if you can set aside your arms and talk. Or set aside, in a better understanding, set aside your differences and talk. If you can't after talking, then whatever will be, I guess. Personally, I would just say keep out of each other's way. Accept whatever sanctions are being imposed for whatever the reasons, providing they're plausible, based on trade and treaties, and just get on with things again. Yeah? Simple, isn't it? Really, not that hard. No? I'd love to sit around and chat more and go more into depth with stuff. Really put like kind of like the subject headers on and so really kind of like pad it out. But no, there's not enough time for that in these videos, and it'd be hours upon hours. So here's hoping that you now saw something out. Now there's actually some form of feedback going on, right, on both sides. Let's see if the pair of you can get around the table. I know the US is prepared to. Can we get North Korea at the table? Yeah? Can we do that? Anybody? Right. You enjoy the rest of your day. My apologies for any of the confusion of what's going on with Shadow Crown Services at the moment. Just be patient with me. I'm getting there progressively. There's a lot. I've taken on a lot, but it's what's progressed on, and I have held things at a particular level now, and I'm completing those, and then we'll move forward again. Yeah? Be good, and I'll be back.